What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Gooner channel, a channel 100% dedicated to the Arsenal, who, as we all know, are by far the greatest team the world has ever seen. And it's the eve of the must-win game against Manchester United. Why am I saying it's a must-win game? Well, first of all, it's Manchester United. We always have to beat them. Last season, one of the high points was Eddie Nketiah's last-minute goal, which saw us beat them 3-2. We've had a great record against them over the last 5 years, and they are not the team that they were in the heyday of our rivalry. But it's also down to the fact that Manchester City, despite not hitting top gear and not really clicking, have managed to grind out 4 wins from 4. Today's game against Fulham was a 5-1 that really wasn't a 5-1, and there was, of course, a controversial offside goal which put them ahead, which totally changed the complexion of the game. So they are riding their luck a little bit, but we are already points behind them. And even if we beat Manchester United tomorrow, the fact that we dropped 2 points against Fulham means that we won't catch up with them. We want to remain one of the unbeaten teams in the season so far. And I think if you look at the mood of the fans online, not the mood of the fans at the Emirates, who have been as good as ever, but around the Arsenal fan base online, there is a real discontent. And the key reasons for that discontent are, firstly, they feel like Arteta's needlessly tinkering. Dropping Gabriel, nobody quite understands why, but the supposition has been that he's dropping Gabriel just to play Kai Havertz. Now, it doesn't really make a lot of sense when you think that Kai Havertz has come in to replace Granit Xhaka, and there are certainly ways that you could play Gabriel and Havertz in the same team. The feeling around Kai Havertz is a head scratcher for me. People haven't given him long enough. I mean, I remember when Dennis Bergkamp came to Arsenal, and it took him 8 or 9 games to score, and we still supported him. Some players just seem to rub up our fan base the wrong way, and Kai Havertz certainly isn't the kind of player who's exciting to watch all the time. But if anything, he is effective. He wins his duels. He rarely gives away possession. He is great at pressing from the front, and I think that, well, I'm going to get to the team lineup I expect in a moment. But the other controversies have been around Ben White not playing at right back and instead coming in as centre back because Gabriel's been dropped. And, of course, that has meant that Thomas Partey has nominally started at right back. Well, some of those problems have gone away tonight with the announcement from the Ghana camp that Thomas Partey is injured. I don't know how long for. I've seen one report that suggests he's out for 3 months. The general consensus seems to be that it's a groin strain and it should be around 2 weeks. He may be back after the international window, but he isn't going to be available tomorrow. Now, that's not official, but because Arsenal haven't come out and said it, and I'm sure they're thrilled that the Ghana Federation have announced our injury problem on the eve of this match. But let's assume it's true. I'm going to take a look at who I expect to start tomorrow and give reasons why, and then I'm going to look at who Man United are going to start in all likelihood as well. So for me, Ramsdale keeps his place in goal, even though Fulham's first goal was partly down to him. Wasn't a great game for him, but I don't think it was bad enough to drop him. I do think we'll see David Raya at least in the game against Brentford in the League Cup and probably in the Champions League, but I don't think that for this match Arteta is going to drop Ramsdale. So Ramsdale starts in goal. Without Partey able to play at right back and Ben White doing such a great job all last season in that position, you would expect Ben White to come in at right back. It looks like Zinchenko's fully fit, and he's certainly done a good job when he's come on as substitute. So I'm imagining he will start at left back and Gabriel will come back into the team alongside Saliba. Just ahead of them, well, Declan Rice's role is going to change somewhat if we don't have Thomas Partey as a defensive midfielder. We are going to face a threat of an informed Fernandes, so I think Declan Rice in that position hopefully will mitigate that, shield the left-hand side, which may be a little bit more vulnerable with return of Zinchenko. But so you'd expect Declan Rice to start there. Odegaard is captain, of course, and he will start in the midfield. The other midfield players I've alluded to already, I think he will stick with Kai Havertz. And one of the reasons for that is his quality in aerial duels and his link-up play and the interchange with Martinelli. I think Martinelli will start on the left, Saka will start on the right. And up front, I'm expecting him to stay with Eddie Nketiah. Great week for him. Made a massive impact for the first time He didn't do this all last season, but he came off the bench against Fulham and he really turned it around with help from Vieira. How do I think Manchester United line up? They've got their own problems as well. And, well, a really lacklustre start to the season. They only just managed to bag all 3 points against Wolves, who absolutely exploited the space in their midfield to make darting runs forward. They were soundly beaten by Spurs, and I know Spurs are in a bit of a resurgence at the moment, but again, they really conceded possession and the midfield to a Tottenham side with runners. And against Nottingham Forest, they went 2 goals down, but managed to turn it around. So they're probably on a little bit of a high, but they are facing some injury problems. We'll get to those. In goal, Onana. Now, he had arguably his worst game in a Man United shirt last time out, but I don't think they have anyone to replace him with. On the right-hand side, it's going to be Wan-Bissaka, who has been steadily growing into the season, but I think he's going to have a torrid afternoon tomorrow. On the left, with Luke Shaw injured, possibly for up to 6 weeks, I think he'll stick with Dalot, who he played against Nottingham Forest. In the centre of the defence, Martinez, and with Varane injured, I think he'll go for Lindelof. I mean, he might go for Maguire, but it doesn't seem likely, does it? Now, the great thing here is that one of the areas they've been weakest is in winning headers at the back. Martinez has not been winning his aerial duels. So it's part of the reason I would bring in Nketiah in, because with him and Havertz, you could really start to put pressure on their back four. Lindelof, of course, hasn't started in the Premier League this season, but he's not winning his... But he's not one to win headers either. So they look a little bit vulnerable there. With Mason Mount injured, it looks like he's going to persist with Eriksen, who did a really good job against Nottingham Forest, and alongside Casemiro, who up until the Forest game has been incredibly isolated in the midfield. Now, Ten Hag has talked about wanting to make Manchester United the fastest transitioning team in Europe, and they're a long way from that at the moment. They don't seem capable of absorbing the pressure and hitting teams on the break. But tomorrow we are likely to see Rashford on the left replacing Garnacho, who hasn't really played very well, and Rashford himself playing up front didn't work. So Rashford on the left, Antony on the right, without question one of my least favourite players in the Premier League. Very little end product, but who do you bring in instead of Antony? Sancho's not playing particularly well either. The other player in the midfield is Fernandes. Of course, he is the one player that is really playing, and it was largely down to him that they turned it around the way they did against Forest. The midfield, therefore, Eriksen, Casemiro and Fernandes. But over the last 3 games, they've been drawn out wide increasingly often to try and get involved in winning the ball. It's just not clicking for them at the moment. And I think if we have Declan Rice marshalling Fernandes and stopping the creativity from there, we may not face as much threat as you would expect from a Man United side. Up front, well, I don't think Rasmus Højlund is anything like fit enough to play his first game at the Emirates. He may start Rasmus Højlund, but that's really rolling the dice. He's only just coming back from injury. He's not proven in the Premier League. He hasn't played with the rest of the team yet. So it's far more likely he'll start with Anthony Martial. And Martial does not look like a threat that I would be worried about. Saliba and Gabriel should have more than enough to deal with him. So overall, the way it's going to go tomorrow, if you take Ten Hag's comments about being a transitioning team, I would expect us to have the ball. I would expect the game to be played very much in their half, and they'll be looking to hit us on the break. With a more solid defence that we were used to last season, I think we're just going to have too much firepower for Manchester United tomorrow. The mood around the fans, this happens to me anyway. Every time we get near a game, the closer we get to it, the more I feel like there's something to worry about. As I said at the beginning, it's a must-win. If we win this, we go into the international break with 10 points out of 12. We have a scalp of one of the big clubs, even though I'm not sure Man United are going to be that this season. They do look in a mess. I would expect it to be a good day for Martinelli, a good day for Eddie Nketiah. I'm predicting a 3-0 win for Arsenal. That we finally get to see some of what Arteta sees in Kai Havertz. That Eddie Nketiah bags another goal for his great run of form that he's on. He's full of confidence. England call up Eddie Nketiah. What a way to celebrate it would be if he were to score a hat-trick. We've seen 3 hat-tricks today already. Tomorrow's score prediction, Arsenal 3, Manchester United 0. Although, as I say it, I could definitely see them hitting us from a corner or us losing our concentration at 3-0 up. I just don't think they've got enough to come to the Emirates, where the atmosphere has been and should be electric. But hopefully the kind of negativity you get from the online fans hasn't started to seep in. As Arsenal fans, we do owe it to Kai Havertz to give him the kind of atmosphere that will bring out the best in him. I think at some point in tomorrow's game, Emil Smith-Rowe could be a game changer, just because he is exactly the kind of player who can pick up the ball and run at Manchester United's defence. And Wolves showed us that they can't cope with that. So I am cautiously optimistic, a little bit nervy, and hopeful that we're going to click into top gear tomorrow and put an impressive victory against what is a really lacklustre Manchester United that I'm not anticipating finishing in the top 4, given the way their season, their transfer window, the ownership, everything about that club at the moment is in disarray. Let me know if you disagree. Let me know if you agree. Thank you so much for watching this far. If you haven't yet, click the subscribe button, tell your friends, and until I see you again, be lucky. Lots of love.